What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into today's Friday afternoon Power Hour Live. We are live here Friday, April 14th, 2023, and we are looking at chop. I mean, as much as I say it's chop, it isn't really that bad, although we had an opportunity for a breakout, and what did it do? Didn't do it. Didn't go for it. And now we come back down, we build another higher low, and then we'll see if we try again next week. It's because it seems like that's kind of the reality of where the market's at least as of right now. And if you're someone who plays or who likes to play essentially the contrarian like style of trading, if you're like a day trader, it's actually probably working pretty well the past little bit of time, at least more than the past couple of days, past a week or two. And so that's kind of the deal. But here we are on this fine Friday, and we had this attempted breakout. Actually, I think it happened in pre-market here. We're looking at, I'm going to go to SPY. Yeah, it happened in pre-market where we broke over yesterday's highs. And yesterday's highs happened to line up, I believe, very, very nicely with the highs of the CPI reading when they initially spiked to that level. And so we got to that spot, tried to go there, didn't end up going. Pulled back into the open, no big deal, right? Well, we rip off the open and you think, oh, here we go, we're going to have a ripper. And then we don't. We have a pretty big reversal. We come down, break down below pre-market lows and actually go down pretty decently down towards 410, tap 410 essentially, and then bounce back to view up, and they're bouncing back off view up to the downside now. So it's honestly been difficult to kind of, well, here's why. Let's talk about this. Here's why. Go to the weekly chart here on SPY. Where are we at? Where are we at? Right now, we are on the verge. We are on the verge of potentially a decent move, a decent, couple of days or a week or two, right? Of an upside move if the market wants to go up. The thing is, it just doesn't feel like it wants to go up, right? How does it feel? What it feels like right now is you've got bears who are honestly getting screwed because we haven't been going down to new lows. And if you're day trading, that's one thing. But let's be honest. All the bears who've been talking out their ass the past couple of months, let's be honest, they have been in the painful trade because we've got higher lows and things are generally going against them, right? And we see that sentiment turn more bearish when we get a red day or two. The thing is, we get a red day or two, the next day is green. That's how it's been. We get a green day or two, next day is red. That's just how it's been. So no one's really like winning, although we can say that the general trend has been up the past couple of weeks. That's pretty clear in my opinion, and I think we can see the higher lows, right? The question is, are we going to make a higher high? If we make a higher high, then that continues the trend, somewhere up over here, over 420 on SPY. So we shall see, but this is, we are on the verge of potentially a big move. There's just some more, BS to kind of get through. And if it's able to make it through this, I don't want to say clear sailing, but there might be, at least some cleaner moves to the upside, potentially. At least in the short term, if that's the case. Otherwise, if we start to break down and we start going back below 405, it's a good chance we get some cleaner moves to the downside. So we're looking for one of those to happen in the past, 2 weeks now. Literally, it's been 2 weeks where, look at SPY, right? These are weekly candlesticks. We have been in a range from about 405.60 to today's high was 415. So really, and we were only there for like a few minutes. So the bulk of the range was from like 405, 406 to 412. So it's like a $7, the bulk of the range is like $7. And then like the upper end, which was today, was like an extra couple $3. So it's been a pretty tight range. Meanwhile, look at some of these weekly candles, right? This weekly candle right here, for example, went from 380 up to 396. That's $15 or $16 range. This one right here, 393 all the way to 408. Some nice range, $15+ range intra week. Now we've got 2 weeks where we're stuck inside of a 10-point range on SPY. So it's kind of just like, it's like it wants to go, but it's just getting stuck, right? And my thought was that eventually maybe that getting stuck could lead to eventually a nice, flush. If we just can't go, you try to go, and it just doesn't happen. And then we get a nice downside move. That's also just not happening yet either. So we're kind of in limbo right now. And I think it's a time where I could see two scenarios occur and we get some decent moves. The great news, I think, is that we're on the verge of a big move. Which way? You know, you want to go out and toss your, you know, macro hat, put your macro cap on and tell us why we're going to go up and why we're going to go down. Well, be ready to be completely wrong and have, you know, no shame in that if that's what you want to do, you know, because this is what the market's doing. It's making everyone look like a fool. No matter if you're bullish or bearish, it doesn't matter. Everyone's a fool. I know I've been looking like a fool based off some of the trades. I had a good like couple of little days, although it was the same thing. It's been like right there and then it just doesn't do it. It doesn't give me that continuation, doesn't give me that full move that I'm looking for. Microsoft is one of those today that I had. And I played this breakdown essentially right here, right? Got a decent move, but it was like 50 cents or 60 cents on Microsoft, which is almost a $300 stock. That's, you know, I'm looking for about $1, you know, at least on that move. And I just didn't get it. And then it just stops me out. Not a huge loss, but I'm like, oh my God. And then it got the move later, but of course, right? You know, hindsight, the setup that I was looking for wasn't there, so I didn't take that. And I found that when I have ventured off of the strategy and the system that I've been following, that's when all hell breaks loose in terms of having the bigger losers. And I've also gotten I've also lost on scenarios where I try to anticipate a break and it doesn't happen. And then I'm in, and now all of a sudden I'm down huge, and I'm like, well, why did I do that? So it's just refining and trading with the strategy the way that I envisioned it to be traded. If I'm doing that, I feel like I'm in a good spot. I've actually had I think I'm, with that said, I know I am solid with that. The only problem is, like, you know, it's easier said than done, but I think it comes through, and you look through the data, you look through your trades, and you go, oh, fuck, like, you know, every time or more times than not when I do this, it doesn't work. It's funny. That's not part of the strategy that I have. Dumbass. Like, let's make sure we don't do that. Like, that's just, it's stupid stuff. And it sounds simple when you say it. Like, oh, why aren't you doing that? Well, it's easier said than done. Sometimes there's always this little bias. There's always that, like, that urge. There's always like, oh, fuck, I missed that last one because it was right there. I had it and I didn't execute properly. So you're looking for the next one, and it's not like really there, but you're seeing things that you're trying to anticipate versus versus like, okay, what's actually happening? So you go back and forth. But that's my shit that I got to figure out and deal with anyway. But hopefully that makes some sense. What's going on, guys? Got caught in some chop earlier, made back on some SPY at the bottom. I also got stuck on that too. You know, I saw when this move came down on the future side. I had a green week in futures this week, but I know I had a red week in the options account, green week in futures, and I'm pretty sure red week in the Robinhood. I think it was just down this week, not by a lot, but I think that was the deal across all the portfolios. But I got caught here. We came down pretty fast, and I was like, oh shit, you know, this move down looks pretty aggressive. And then I saw us break this low, and so when I saw that low break, I took a quick contract, and then ultimately got stopped out very shortly after. Thought we were going to see a bigger move down. Did not. And then again, like, I'm in the chop, and I'm like, just going to leave it alone at this point. 100% on those contracts. Jeez. What's going on, Melon? Weekly chart looks pretty nice, to be honest. No, I think it does too. I mean, I really do. I think that the weekly chart does look pretty good. It's just got to get there. It's, you know, it's like less than $10 away from what I believe will be nice, smooth sailing. And then there's this nice gap here on the weekly right here. Up in this like 420 to 421 range, like that probably fills. And then maybe we get a test of the 430 area on SPY. Like, I think we get that at some point here soon. The thing is, now you kind of got me thinking about the earnings season. And like, I think Tesla's got it next week. Let's see who's got earnings next week. Let's jump over to the daily charts. Yeah, Tesla's got earnings next week. So you got some bigger names. I think Apple's the week after into early May or something like that, or maybe 2 weeks from now. Tesla comes out next week. So that's a big one everyone's kind of waiting for on Tesla. My levels on Tesla, hey, 165 holds. I like it long. If 165 breaks, probably going to get a gap fill down to 145. So there's a good short opportunity there. Maybe I'll grab some of the leverage short Tesla. If Tesla breaks down below here, maybe I'll grab a leverage short Tesla in the Robinhood and play the backside of that as long as it stays below like 175, risk 10 to make 20, something like that on it. Could be an idea. But yeah, Tesla's got earnings next week. If you jump over to Apple, they have earnings, no, not for a couple weeks actually. It's on May 4th. So that's actually a while from now, I think. Microsoft, that's Apple's on Thursday, May 4th. Microsoft is Tuesday, April 25th. So those are at least broken up, at least not like back to back on the same week. NVIDIA doesn't have them for a while out to May. AMD, I would imagine, AMD is in the same week as Apple. Tuesday of that week. Meta's coming up 26th, not next week, the week after. So not like look at Meta's chart, right? Like, holy shit, this is a beautiful chart. I mean, this thing is just ripping up. Congrats to all the longs who bought Meta under $100. I mean, honestly, that's awesome. And now look what we're doing. What do we got right here? We got some volume to potentially fill in. Now, of course, earnings could be the decider in there, but hey, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets up in there. Amazon earnings are the 27th of April. So looks like Apple has earnings out into May. And so everyone's kind of doing their earnings before that, and Apple's got theirs after. So I kind of like that. As much as we had those crazy weeks where like all these companies report earnings like the same week, I kind of like spreading it out. You know, ideally you're going to have less market impact when you only have one or two going at a day or during a week or two, big weights in the S&P. Been doing that problem as well, forcing plays. I'm not sure what's causing it. This week I restrained myself like very, very well because I was like, okay, I don't see anything that I like. And then it was just for whatever reason today, I had the dentist this morning. I don't know, maybe I'm like overanalyzing, but I go to the dentist, I get it wasn't a full crown. They call it an onlay. So it's like kind of like a half crown almost. I didn't need to get a full crown done, but of course I'm in there, doc's giving me the goods and like sitting there for a little longer than I thought it was going to be. Like I'm just getting vibrated, the freaking machines drilling into me, out me. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible, but it smells bad. I'm like, it smells like, rotting flesh almost. I don't know why I had that smell of like when you burn yourself on like a toaster oven or something like that. That smell of like burnt skin was what I was smelling the whole time. I have no idea. But yeah, that was going on. That was this morning. Then I came back, I got back home like about a half hour after open. So I didn't take or didn't trade the SPY push. I was liking that move for a move over these highs yesterday for a trade. Didn't take it. If I did, maybe I could have snuck out in the green. It was actually you had like 15 minutes of it, I guess 20 minutes of being up if you took it. Maybe I would have, but then I saw this come down, like I'm not touching shit. And then I took one or two that ended up being kind of duds, just whatever, and that was it. That was the deal. So kind of sucks, but I got a bunch of other work I got to get done. I've been trying to do this week, and then I got a bunch I got to do after this. So it's been a interesting week to say the least. And I'm hoping next week is a little more exciting. You think, with the PPI, the CPI, all these freaking PPIs, all these eyes and everything, the data coming out of the freaking. So what we've seen now the past couple of times that we've got the PPI, the CPI, all of freaking shit coming out. What's happened? The market's actually had these muted reactions. If we go to like the 1 hour chart where we've gotten moves, but like they haven't been insane in terms of an overall trend. They haven't like given us a lot. Like what you've got is, yes, technically we are higher than where we were on Monday. Like if you bought calls Monday, or let's say you bought a strangle or a straddle on Monday and like, oh yeah, I'm going to straddle the CPI and this week is going to be great, right? Well, option premiums probably costed a decent amount. So you need a big move. And you got a decent move. The problem is, while we were getting this move, premiums are getting crushed, right? You're getting a ton of theta decay. You're getting a ton of decay from volatility. The VIX is getting crushed. Like all these things are getting crushed, right? Because now we are getting past these unknown events that are now known. And now this uncertainty comes out to some degree of the market. And so like these options, like you would need to see SPY make a $10+ move this week, I would think, for you to go green, maybe more. And it just like, you maybe if you timed it perfectly and you happen to buy at the low here and sell at the high, yes, there's a good chance you didn't, and it's not as easy. It was actually a little more difficult to play it that way. So kind of a pain in the ass, I'll tell you that. But we'll see. We got a little hourly chart setting up right here. If we can break up over 412 again on SPY, maybe there's a little rally into the close. Looks like it wants to try to go 412 was a spot we were watching back in the past too. It's an area of resistance. So VIX has been getting very low. Yeah, it has. VIX is at 1746 right now. Look at this VIX, man. VIX is at almost new lows on the year. Very, very close to a new low. I'm going to mark that level. New low on the year. Very, very close to it. Yeah, but watch. Look at how the VIX got hit 2020 so many times. 2020 hit 20 bucks so many times and then eventually fell through. Couldn't break 20. The dollar did bounce. The dollar literally came right off double bottom for now off of the area of support. The same exact bottom that it found to be the bottom back in February. So we're back up about $1, almost $1 off of those lows on the dollar index, on DXY, the US dollar index. So we'll see if it puts in a low. The thing is here, it would need to really get back up like over here to put in a higher low or higher high. It's still making lower highs like on the general trend. So that's still the trend until proven otherwise. Yeah, it's getting a bounce, but did get pretty oversold for a day or two. So not surprised we got a bounce there on the dollar. I think it might save me because I was not save me, but I was looking to see if silver's in ripping. So I have AGQ, which is essentially leveraged silver long. And I have a covered call on my 100 shares of this guy that expires next Friday at 37 bucks. Today reset us back so that now those covered calls are very possible they can expire worthless unless we get a really big rip, which we could. And it's got to go over 37 into next Friday. If this pulls back a bit more or it consolidates here, it's going to end up expiring worthless. Then I can just sell another covered call out a little further, which those are pretty juicy contracts because let me pull them up. Let's pull it up. Here she is. Yeah, so I'm up 48% roughly on this position on the shares. And then I've been selling cover calls for months, so I'm probably up really nice on it. And they've been pretty good. But if you go to the option chain and you go to sell a call and go out to May, because it's monthly expirations. So if I went out to May and I want to sell a 40 covered call, I can get paid 90 cents, which is essentially 90 bucks. Let's see if the spreads are like that. Yeah, it's 90 by 100. So I can get paid almost $100 to sell a 40 covered call for May on AGQ, which, hey, gets up to 40, man. I'm almost 100% up on. I'm almost up 100% on this position. That starts to become like, do I want to just let this expire and take me out? You know what I mean? Next spot will be 45 bucks. So if you want to give yourself more of a cushion, you're really, really bullish on silver and you didn't want to lose these shares, which to be honest, when you're playing a leverage position, at some point you got to trim it off and get rid of it, which is kind of where my head is at, on this breakout for silver. I think we can go higher, sure, but who knows? Maybe there's some short-term pullbacks and whatever. But 45, even the 45 strikes out to May 19th are going between 40 and 50 cents. So I can get paid 45 bucks to sell a covered call at 45 on this thing. And we're sitting at 34.50. I mean, that's $10 of leeway that I'm giving myself. And if we don't make a $10 move in the next month out to May 19th, then guess what? I made 45 bucks on that, and no one can take that away from me at this point, right? Now the position could go lower, obviously, and I can lose money net, or I guess unrealized on the position. But the perfect world is you kind of sell those covered calls and the stock kind of slowly goes up. It doesn't go all the way to that strike price, but it kind of inches higher and it kind of allows you to keep rinsing and repeating. That's the perfect scenario. So we'll see if we can get that opportunity. But that's a next week deal. I'm not worried about it right now. I'm not rolling it right now. I'm not doing that right now. I'll roll it on Friday if I have to, and I'll only roll it if it's in the money and I need to get it and I need to extend it. So that's the plan. It looks like SPY is going to probably pop here over this level. 412 is testing right now. Look at that. Look at that hourly candle. Look at that. Let's go to the 5 minute, see what it looks like. I would imagine that we're at the VWAP. Yeah, we're at the VWAP area. If we can break over it, maybe there's a push. And the reason why I would say that is because we have this higher low right here that just established. So ideally, the trend structure continues to make a higher high here on that push. We'll see. What's going on? TJ buying and selling. By the way, my middle name is Joseph, so I could have gone by TJ. My parents asked if I wanted to do that. I didn't. I decided not to, but that was a consideration back when I was a kid. Buying and selling covered calls is something new to me, but I've been making a little over the long term. No, but that's the thing. If you think about it, right, covered calls are not going to make you rich if you sell covered calls. But if it's, especially on like I kind of say, I have this like approach of more like a macro swing, you know, as well as like a core dividend position in the Robinhood, the longer term account. But if you just sell a couple covered calls over the course of a year, or let's say you can sell one a month, or depending upon if your position allows you to sell weekly covered calls, one a week, it's not going to make you a ton of money, but it's like a little dividend. And that little dividend allows you to reinvest those funds that much faster back into the core positions that you want to grow over time. And that's what it's all about. Or those can fund, like we talked about in the past, those can fund maybe some short-term speculative trades that you want to make and whatnot, right? Those few dollars that you can make off covered calls. And sometimes you can make more than a few. The more money you have, the more money you can make, obviously. But that's kind of what it's all about. And so it's paying yourself a bit of a higher dividend. And most people don't know what that is. If you have a little bit of understanding, right, of the stock market and investing in long terms, and all you did, and that's what I would recommend for someone, like if someone came to me and said, hey, I want to get into options, I want to get into trading stocks and stuff, you know, what's your piece of advice from following things or whatever? Since I really got into things and started touching options back in like 2016, tons of ups, tons of downs, more downs than ups. I think everyone probably goes through a lot of that shit, but I would say, okay, learn what options are, understand what they are, and then sell covered calls. Buy stocks you like and sell covered calls. So if that requires you to have 100 shares, well, find the cheapest stock that you can get your hands on 100 shares that you want to hold longer term or whatever, or that you think is truly undervalued. And, you know, there's a risk there too. And then sell covered calls. And if you just took like an S&P 500 ETF and you performed what the S&P did, okay, now also, maybe you also like to play around and maybe you have margin capabilities a little bit, and you tend to go in on margin a little bit when the market's really getting, you know, hit really hard, and you play a little bit off of that. Or let's say you want to buy the dip when things get tough. If you just do that, go with that strategy and that approach, you'll probably outperform the market over time, although it's not easy as you think, you know. And then you sell covered calls, you get a dividend, right? So you can see how this can start stacking up, and that dividend pays you, you know, once a quarter, but the covered calls could pay you maybe once a week or once a month. And if you're paying yourself once a month, right, that's just compounding that much faster. Now, of course, it's not a lot of money, but as you do that, let's say you have 100 shares. Now you can buy 100, now you have 101 shares, 102 shares, 105 shares, 110 shares. And it keeps going. Once you get to 200 shares, now you can sell 2 covered calls, and you can kind of keep on, you know, rinsing and repeating that process as time goes on. And that's a really good strategy for, I would say, for most people who want to get in to like options and like other ways to kind of play around the stock market, but want to do it the least risky and realistically the most beneficial long term, I would say. My name is actually Thomas Joseph. That's actually hilarious. That's cool. That's really cool. Tesla come back. I mean, I think everything is, I would imagine, is bouncing. Tesla's actually, yeah, look at that. Tesla got above VWAP and push. Apple. Nvidia's having a nice day. I think they got some news. Elon is using some of their products or whatever for his new AI startup. He's starting a new AI company. I think he's pretty concerned about AI. Elon Musk is, apparently. Let's check in on AI stock. How's it doing today? Down 2.38%. I still have puts on this. Are they up or down? I don't know. Let's jump in here and see. Not that. AI. No, they're down. I think that the stock is actually around the same price I bought these puts at. They're down 25%. I have them out to May 19th. So I got about a little over a month on these. I'm going to hold these. These are going to be zero or hero. I won't say hero, but this is a hedge. This is something that I wanted to put in the portfolio to hedge myself to some degree because I had minimal short exposure. So I'm like, if we are going to go down, I want this. And it's not a big, it's only a couple $100, right? It's $200 that I put in. So I have some other hedges, but they're on oil plays. which have been weak today. Oil is up today a little bit, but those have been weak, I think. Exxon's green now. MRO is green and Oxy's red by 0.5%. So they're kind of whatever. They're just doing there. They're just treading water for now. It's kind of how it looks on some of the oil stuff. But yeah, that's what the AI is. It's not really a... The reason why is I think we can... If we do break down below $20, I think there's a nice push to 18 and that can happen pretty fast. And I also don't like the look of this chart, right? You had this massive push that went to highs, but then also kind of got destroyed right here. There was some bad news there on that day, I believe. And then you come in and you make these lower highs right now. Yeah, you bounce the same spot, but how many times are you going to bounce here? Like, I have been in this type of setup so many times, and I can't tell you how many times I am like, oh, I'm going to buy that support right here. And then it kind of goes a little bit my way, and then it comes like this. It happens like all the time. Not that AI is going to do that, but I thought this was a pretty good setup for a hedge, not to mention it's a lot of people on the AI train. And it could be a pretty painful trade, especially if it starts breaking down, right? That makes these trades a little bit nicer when you get the breakdowns because you get panic sellers. When this support, if this support broke, right? If the market rips higher, then okay. I mean, this probably doesn't break and maybe this goes up. But if the market kind of is weak and pulls back, if this support breaks, what the hell is everybody who bought this dip is going to do? Holy shit, support's broken. I'm going to panic sell. And then you get this massive, fat red candle down, $1 or $2 in that one day. I guarantee. Like that's I've seen it. You see it happen all the time. No guarantees, right? But that's what I'm playing it for. And I'd be happy to be completely wrong because that means people are making money. Because I know a lot of people who are holding this thing. Lots. So there goes SPY. Look at that now. Look at that pop. So it got that 412 push and then it just ripped. Now it's up like 60 cents off that 412. So there you go. Previous, respected resistance breaks. You get a nice move. And that's like essentially the core of my day trading strategy. Is this like something like that were to break? Is this the best trade to me today? To be honest, if I zoom out, I kind of would be more biased to the long side because we are building higher lows, higher highs. Right? So yeah, sure, maybe that's a valid idea. Although, you got to think about VWAP and the moves. Right? We had a big push, came down, kind of choppy. I don't know. I wouldn't be, if I did that, it would not be a heavy size position. Also, only 30 minutes left, 15 minutes now left in the day. There's so much time, so I wouldn't be a big size if I was to do it. But it looks like it's working nice. XBI had a huge day yesterday. I remember seeing that. In the you posted in the Discord, right? Yeah, look at that massive move. Jeez. Yeah, it's come back. They're coming back to life a little bit. Got some good volume yesterday on XBI. It's come back to life. So looks like so far it was a dip buy in the low 70s. Seems like that was a dip buy. It's gonna take some time to kind of get itself together and back up, but it's a dip buy. One thing that's also interesting to note, talk about the dollar. Here's a 10-year. The 10-year bounced beautifully off that. This is the range that we're trading in right now in the 10-year. So, and I'm not super surprised. It's still not bullish to me. Like, no, we have got lower lows and we've got lower highs, right? But what is it doing? It's just kind of bouncing around. I was thinking just a little bit, if I get taken out of my silver, or let's say I get out of Tesla or something like that in the Robinhood portfolio, I was thinking about maybe adding a little more TMF, a little bit. Just shorted Meta. What's Meta doing right now? Meta's overall chart's been killer. But, oh, look at that. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. That's your resistance right there. So you have a couple highs right there on the 5-minute earlier this morning. Got to that same spot and currently rejecting off of it. Jeez. I took the cap off, and the cap had like the remnants of whatever was in of the shake. It dripped all over me. God damn it. I've had like 4 protein shakes today because I can't really. I think I can eat now. It just hurts. My freaking teeth hurt. And they told me this morning. They're like, yeah. I was like, when can I start eating again? They're like, yeah, don't eat until like the numbness wears off. That wore off like a couple hours ago. Well, maybe like 2 hours ago. Like it's still kind of numb, honestly, but now it just kind of hurts back there. Just like sore, kind of hurts like a bitch. But Spy 412s today were vaulting. I'm sure they were. Yeah. They were looking great, horrible, kind of good on the Spy 412s. I'm excited for the, we're going to see how it goes. My problem is that this week was like the first week that I decided to start filming the like Saturday videos. I think I got a series name that we'll run with for now. I started filming, like I'm essentially filming them throughout the week. So it's kind of like more like a chronological, like what's going on almost, like taking it day by day through a week. And I'll post them like every weekend is the idea. If it's too long, then we can change that and whatever I can see. But I think the problem that I'm going to have this week is that I got a shit ton of footage. Now, finding a balance of like transitional stuff and also like actual informative like stuff will be the key. I tend to ramble, I feel like, a lot. So then it's like I got to be able to slim things or trim things down. So probably won't be able to finish editing that till sometime tomorrow. But Kyle's in the house with all his tax issues and all. QQQ is about to go green. It's close to going green. IWM is weak today. Jeez, I remember seeing that this morning. Yeah. I saw this and I was like, oh, shoot. IWM, if it gets above 179.20, that could be a nice move today. And then it just got destroyed since then. Dow's down about 0.5%. Come back, but it's down about 0.5%. Let's check out the Dow's daily chart. Oh, the Dow looks pretty good. It broke the downtrend here. Looks pretty good. Best time to be consistent in the morning. You know what I've been finding for myself lately? Maybe that's just because I think that's just because the markets will be markets, but they're gonna come and go. Like the conditions will change. They're always changing. I'm finding that, to be honest, a lot of fake out action is in like the morning, and then we get better. We've been getting better, trends or better, cleaner moves later on. So, like for example, I had Microsoft short, which from my entry point, this should have been a green trade. You would have thought, oh shit, this would have been green. I got in right here on this breakdown. Problem was we only got like 75-cent move and then a bounce back, and I ended up getting stopped out here for a small loss. We got a huge move later on. Like we got a move. The only problem is that it came back and then got above VWAP, and then it went to those lows. I'm like, oh my God. Now, could I have played it again? I don't see a setup that I like. Maybe if it undercut this level, maybe. But even that, actually, I do see one. It's small, though. And it's not like, I don't know if I'm a huge fan. That would have been a nice flag to the downside right here when I saw that. Only problem is that I'm sitting here saying, at that point in time, how much move do we have more on the tank? Market's been chopping around. I can easily see this thing give us a nice candle and a rip back up, which is kind of what we had here. And it gave you 5 minutes, so about 15 minutes of downside. But that was still 285.25 to that was $1 plus. That was $1.25. So there you go. I didn't get that move there earlier, but that was $1. So there you go. I guess it worked out nice. Hindsight. But yeah, the trend came better later on. But like this first couple hours was like a shit show. Yeah, and then we got a better trend. Now, of course, it's doing whatever it wants to do. But like this was like not very clean to trade off of. And then it got better. But the thing is, it tends to wipe you out here. You get screwed here. And then you're like, fuck, I'm not touching it later. And then later it's a nice like, oh man, if I just did that, it would have worked. I find that to be the case. Every time the simple system or the setups that I've been playing, when I go off of the plan or when I go and I look for other stuff, almost every time I lose. Almost every time. So it tells you when you sometimes like it, even though you're losing, like sometimes it makes it that much clearer to you though, that hey, I got it. Like I got something that works. I just have to be dialed in and strict to it, because you'll see like, oh, you know, because the problem is that you see a lot of people who go, oh, it makes you feel, especially on the social media these days, which I completely, I didn't delete Twitter, but I deleted it from my phone because I'm like, dude, this is not really helpful at all anymore. Like I would find myself scrolling it so much, just like casually on the weekends, like, you know, whenever, random times of the day when I'm doing nothing. And you get like, I've followed over the years a lot of financial accounts just for news and whatever, and people who just, you know, thought were useful, you know, over the years. And it's so fucked. Like the amount of shit that you see on there that you're getting constant bias, right? Whether subconsciously it's getting plowed into your, you know, ingrained in your head that everyone's fucking bearish or whatever on this, you know, on this app, or at least everyone who I follow is bearish. So I'm like, holy shit, it's giving you this bias. And then also, you know, half people are posting fake gains, half are maybe actually posting stuff, but everyone makes you feel like you're an idiot if you didn't take advantage of the day or this week or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, like Jesus Christ, like relax. Doesn't matter. And the thing is, the more that I see a lot of people on these platforms and stuff, I like look at and I try to understand their strategy. And I'm like, I don't want to be the one that's doubting your strategy and what you're doing. And because you're posting, you know, great gains and whatever, and you're, you know, all this stuff. But to be honest, like I just don't understand how it works, because there's not really a strategy behind it, or it's not a setup. It's kind of like, oh, today is like bearish. I'm going to see this little level right here and play a bounce, and I'm going to play along here. I'm like, it works. Hey, if it works, it works, right? Don't change it if it's working for you. But I just don't know how you can play like 10 different types of setups, you know, bounces, rejections, breakouts, breakdowns, VWAP, the EMA touch. Like, I don't know how you can trade 17 different things. I know I can't do that. You can have a good streak here and there. That's when you're usually seeing the market very well, and maybe your bias is lined up with what's happening. But more often than not, I find that does not last, and it leads to potentially a really big loss, or 2 or 3 or a week or a month that you're just not feeling it. And then it's like, you're done. You get destroyed. So hats off to the people who can do that and are, you know, killing it with that type of stuff. But the more I see and I do, I'm like, I don't know how that works. I don't know. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to knock some of these people. I don't want to knock, you know, if you actually are doing very, very well. But I'm like, I just do not understand how you're consistent with that, or how that will be consistent for you in the long term. But whatever. Dump in the morning, recover in the afternoon. Yeah. Hour before power hour for some reason. I would say, honestly, I would hate to sit there all day. Now I can sometimes do it because I essentially work from home. So I do a bunch of different things throughout the day that I'm working on that are not related to trading, but I am at my desk, like a lot of it. I try to split up the gym in there and stuff and other things, and going for runs and whatever now in the middle of the day sometimes, and just, you know, taking, you know, time to just stop looking at things. But, you know, sometimes you have that corner of your eye, like looking over at that chart, you're like, you know. But when you sit there, if you have a great day and you're dialed in and everything is working, it's awesome. Then those days where it sucks and you're just losing, it's very, very easy to double down, to take something else, and to just keep trying, and then get yourself into a bigger hole. And then you feel like the worst feeling is, I got no work done today because I was looking at these freaking charts, and now I got to do it at night. which ends up happening to me a lot. And then you lose money. So you're like, I spent 5 hours looking at these stupid charts. I lost hundreds of dollars. And now I'm sitting here like an idiot that has to work until midnight on the other stuff I didn't do earlier. So like that's the worst case scenario. So it's, it sounds cool. Like if you have work, school and stuff. And that was me in the past, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't watch, I couldn't be around to potentially do something if I wanted to throughout the day. Other commitments wise, right? But sometimes it's not a great scenario. You don't want to be looking at things. So you got to find your time, find your setups. And then when things are not aligning, maybe set some alerts and walk away, or just X out of the tabs, like whatever, set some alerts. I'll set them on my phone and whatever. And then sometimes I'll just close out of the tabs and just work on whatever I have to work on that day. And then, the alert goes off, great. I'll come back and take a look. If not, I'll check in every, couple hours, but that's that. It's like trade and structure patterns, reversals, don't like trend trading, only scalps. Well, when you get the break of structure, break of trend, right, you can get some nice moves off of that, right? What was previously respecting is no longer respecting, and then you get a nice move. Able to keep an eye on structure and patterns throughout the day. Yeah. No, yeah, that's I would say kind of where I feel like I am now. I can have an eye on it and then, set the alerts if needed. Donnie, how's working from home? I feel like it would be great for a month. So I've been doing it for a while, so I like it. It depends on the type of person. Recently we got a new apartment where this is essentially this entire room. This is a whole bedroom that is now just like set as like an office space. So there's a bunch of shit on the floor and stuff, but we kind of use it as extra storage, but I don't really care. I don't really need to. Well, I do lay on the ground, like just on the floor, and sometimes like randomly. I have fallen asleep face down in the rug. No pillow, just face down in the rug on this floor sometimes when you're just, for whatever reason, super tired. But it depends on your relationship with it, right? You can be really distracted about it, or you could be, you could love it, and you just might hate the traffic, driving. So for me, I don't need to pay for a car, insurance, all that stuff. So it's great because I'm not required to drive in somewhere every single day. But I like it. I do. I don't know if I would trade it for, you think about that. It's like, okay, make more money, but have to go to an office 5 days a week, or do what I'm doing now, which is a lot of shit. And to be honest, I end up working much, much more than 40 hours a week. I almost guaranteed every week, but I enjoy the things that I do. So it's not the end of the world. And I know that I have ultimate scale in what I do. I have ultimate scale on the income. There's no cap. There's no 2% raise every year and maybe a promotion every couple of years. Like, the scale can come this month, in a year, in 6 months, in 3 years. Who knows when things can go exponential, but I have that ability in the back of my head. So I'm like, I don't know if I would trade that, as long as it's doing enough and paying the bills right now, which things are. I don't really want to trade. I wouldn't want to trade that for more money. Although there's always a price. There's always a price. So you never know. Never say never. Some days I see like I'm in the zone. Some days it doesn't work so good. I have to try to accept and practice some risk management. That's the biggest thing. You can look back at your results and go, holy shit, there's 2 days in the course of a month that ruined me. If those 2 days I didn't go on tilt and do stupid stuff and just accelerate my losses, I would have saved X number of dollars, and now I would have had a green month, and then I would have been able to pull money out of the account, and I would have been able to pay myself a little bit, and then invest some of that into long terms and build that snowball. But so those 2 days, or those couple decisions, those couple trades sometimes could be the difference that makes or breaks you, and it sucks because that's the case. But that's also really cool because you can go, hey, it's not like I'm far off. It's just 2 decisions. It's 2 days. It's a handful of trades. That's sometimes all it is. love work from why I'm studying code. Yeah, I know a lot of people who, well, I guess it depends. It depends. My sister's brother, or my girlfriend's brother, sister's brother. That's me. My girlfriend's brother. He has a sick setup. He has a job where it's a 4-day a week, but they work 10 hours a day, I think. So they have a 3. That honestly is where I think where it's at. 4-day weeks and then the 3-day weekends, but you work 10. Like, to be honest, like I feel like for most people, you know, who work the standard 9 to 5, like not everyone, but I know at least my girlfriend who does that, she's working so much more than the 40 hours a week, you know? And when she was hourly, that was kind of cool because you can log overtime, but now she's salaried, so her salaries are salary. And I'm like, to be honest, I know you want to work hard and you want to, you know, make things, you know, make yourself look good and everything and show that you care and stuff. But it's like, you know, you are only getting paid X, and that would be for 40 hours a week, and you're doing, you know, 50 hours a week. It's like, okay. But everyone has their own relationship with that. Work from home, the good thing is that home can be anywhere in the world. Yeah. I was just thinking about this the other day. Was talking about moving at some point in the future, maybe like where. I do like it here in Austin, Texas. I really like it a lot here. But we're thinking like, where would you want to move? Where would I want to move? And I was like, to be honest, we went to Hawaii like last year. I could fuck with Hawaii. I mean, it's just the timing, the time zone's a little off, but I don't know, man. I could totally do that. Every day you should wake up and, you know, some days you go out and surf, some days. The island life out there just seems really cool. It's expensive, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. That seems like a nice, just the lifestyle would be sick. Save a lot of time, money staying home. Yeah, no, that's do. And no eating out. Drive time, mileage. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. We do eat out a lot. We've toned it back. I'll tell you that. We've toned it back, but we do eat out a lot. I feel like now we've kind of brought it into like doing it at places where it's like not expensive, like not sit down style, more like kind of, it's like grab and go, but like Chipotle, Kava, like those types of spots. Like if we're going to eat out, like, you know, I'm not trying to spend a ton of money, you know, some quicker service, like Indian spot I went to, which I had a scare. I had a really quick scare this week, little food poisoning or whatever, I guess, scare. I got these chicken kebabs and I could have I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten in like 6 hours at that point. I was like, I did a run that day. I was like, I'm freaking starving. It was like 8:00 at night. Usually I'll eat like, you know, in the afternoon, you know, between like 11 and 2 p.m., like around that time, depending upon, you know, when I ate breakfast or whatever for like lunch. And then like, okay, like 5, 6 o'clock, I'm hungry again. Like if I don't have a snack, I'm hungry again. It was like 8:00. I'm just devouring this thing. And then I just look at this piece of chicken and I'm like, I think that's not cooked. And I ate it and it was kind of rubbery. And I was like, that definitely is not cooked. But I was like, it's too late. I'm eating it. And I was like, this is going to be potentially a problem here. And thank God nothing's happened. That was on Tuesday. So I think I'm good. I think. But I got a little scared for it. But I was like, oh shit. And I started looking it up, like, you know, raw chicken. I didn't know. But like a lot of raw chicken, just in general, is contaminated with a lot of these like pathogens, salmonella and shit. Like a lot. Like a ton. Like you go to the store, like there's a good chance like you've picked up a bunch over the course of your life. And like, you know, you cook it right to whatever the temperature, I think it's like 165 is you got to cook it to. And you're fine. But like, I'm like, if you undercook that, like everyone could get sick, which is crazy. I can't believe it. Like that there hasn't been a fix to that. It's 2023. Like there hasn't, but then I guess probably more chemicals and more shit that you're going to be consuming anyway. So there's probably give and take. Like, would you rather have more chemicals involved in your chicken, or would you rather just get the salmonella, you know, once in a blue moon, you know? I don't know what's better for you. Imagine making a living saving, trading 0 days. That would be nice. That's what I always say too about the market. And because there's so many opportunities, so many ways to make money in the market, that the ultimate beach portfolio, we talk about like Hawaii, right? The beach portfolio is you build a big enough portfolio and then you can sell covered calls. You can get paid dividends every month, and you come in every week and you do a little bit of stuff, and then you're out. You're done. That's all you got to do. Cash flow it, collect that cash, and then you're off to the beach. Go surf. Warehouse jobs, 10 to 12 hour shifts. If you have especially like night shifts, yeah, because I've been looking into a lot of a lot of those kind of like health podcasts and whatever these days, and like sunlight's super important in terms of like your body and whatever. So it's like if you are sleeping during the day and you are awake at night, it's just like I can't imagine those types of jobs. Hawaii's expensive. Yeah, no, yeah. The only thing that I say about Hawaii, right? It is expensive. The only thing I say about it is like it's a part of the US. So it just is so convenient. It doesn't feel like the US, but it's so convenient that it is US. Like you can essentially go to a Chase Bank, like, whatever. You got a Bank of America, right? You can pay in US dollars. Like it's just simple. Like I'm like, oh man, like I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. So like it's just super convenient, but it is expensive. That's why I think a lot of people who trade though don't have one income. And let's be honest, I think that's why a lot of those people have those groups, those paid groups, the paid services, because it allows them to diversify their income just a touch. Even if you don't have a ton of people who are subscribing, or if you make it cheap. A lot of people try to jack it up to a lot of money, right? Think about this. $100 a month, service that you pay for, and some are much more. How much are those guys making? If they get 100 people in there, they're making a lot of money, right? On top of what they say they're making from their trading income. So it's not that insane when you think about it, but that's why a lot of people do that, because the stress, the family, it's because things are always changing and adapting, right? Unless you had a fat stack portfolio in your back pocket that was paying your bills. You know what I mean? That's the way to do it if you weren't going to have other income. If your only income was from the market, and the way you'd want to do it is have a massive portfolio that you built many people did, if you were smart, did do that during COVID. And if you did very, very well during the COVID markets, you could have cashed out hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions, some tens of millions. You could have cashed that out, say, hey, I don't need this money to trade. The problem that I had, and I wasn't in that camp of hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I was in the tens, and I was in my not stupid. It's just hindsight now. You can think back. My mind's like, keep going, keep pushing, right? Like keep that next push. And then that kind of that made me overlook a lot of like, okay, the market changes, right? Made you overlook that, and you kind of kept pushing. Next thing you know, you lose $10,000, $20,000, boom, 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 and you're like, oh shit, right? I could have put that $20K into a fat dividend stock, and that could be cash flowing me $300 a month right now. Not that makes a ton, but that could pay for car insurance, a car, right? It could pay for things like that, or it could pay for student loans. In my case, it could pay for whatever. It could pay for my utilities. It could pay for parking, rents, like part of the rent. Like it can start to really kind of reduce the amount of money that I would need to ultimately make for my income to support a lifestyle. So there's people who did very, very well and took advantage of that. Now can say, hey, I'm going to trade with a 50K account every week. I'll reset my account to 50K, and I have, a couple mil in the bank that is just cash flowing me every month, right? And that's it. If you took advantage of COVID, but looking back, like that's hindsight. So something like that could happen again, whether it's a market like that, whether it's a life event or experience or a situation, you get lucky. Who knows, right? You get lucky and you're like, hey, past me would try to make this money, make more money, but I know from all my experience, let me take out 80% of this. Let's say you won the lottery, just as an example. I'm going to take 80% of this money. Let's say you want to scratch off. 80% is going to go in my long-term account. I'm just going to slowly let that build. And then the 20% is what I'm going to use to trade off of, right? Or short-term stuff. Speculate. That's a good strategy. In my opinion, that's a good strategy. You don't have to worry too much about crazy, stress. and you're being smart. But you got to get screwed. You got to lose to truly understand that stuff. I would say. So. And Popeyes get high quality fast food. Buy and hold the spy. Buy and hold spy and sell covered calls is what you want to do. That's what you do in a long-term account. I love motherfuckers who come in and just start saying random shit out of nowhere. Dude, you could go get a job too. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Go to the beach. We were talking about Hawaii. That's the place to be. You work for a couple hours, or you go to go surf in the morning, come back, work your day, and then you're chilling. Favorite dividend stock is JEPI. I'm pretty sure Kyle got me on this one a while back. Pays monthly. It's like a currently 11.36% dividend. Pretty big, pretty well diversified, and it pays monthly. So yeah, it's not going to be, if the market rips face, like they essentially sell covered calls to cash flow every month. But if the market rips face, like this is not going to probably do as well as like your Apples, your freaking SPYs, and what QQQ. But you're going to get that monthly dividend, and that monthly dividend, what I do is I just have it reset or reinvest into shares, and buy shares every month, and then that allows for the dividend to get larger and larger and larger over time. And then I also buy, when I have extra funds, I will also buy additional shares of this to build that up. I want to get this guy up to a nice fat position over time. I would be fine with, let's say, 100K portfolio having half of it in this. Like, I would be totally fine with that because it's diversified enough in here and it's paying you monthly. And so I don't really have to worry. Look, you can go look up what they hold. They hold a ton of stocks. But that is my favorite one as of right now. Some people move to Thailand or Ecuador for weather and cost of living. Hawaii, something. Yeah, we had a trip to Thailand planned back in 2020. Once I graduated, back when I graduated college back then, we had a trip planned, and we were supposed to go to Bali. I was, of course, everyone's going to Bali, or everyone over the past couple of years has gone to Bali, right? It got very popular, but it was kind of like, it was 2019. We were thinking about it, we were planning it, and like we're ready to go early 2020 for like, it was going to be May, like the entire month of May, whatever like the max time you could go without having to get like a visa or whatever, we were going to go. And it was like, we were like this close to hitting the buy on the flights. COVID happens, and we're like, oh shit, like what does this mean? You know, everything's closing down. Bali, I think Bali did, I don't know if they closed down, but I'm sure there was restrictions in terms of what they had and stuff. So, you know, whatever. But that was the plan, and it's cheap, definitely a lot cheaper. Only problem is that it's literally 12 hours across, like it's 12, the time zone's 12 hours different. Not that that really matters, but if you have family and, you know, everyone that you know, in the US and stuff, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Just think about everything that you do at 9 a.m. now in the US, like you'd have to be doing at 9 p.m., you know? They jelly. Mexico City, lots of English speakers, very affordable to live. Mexico is, I've heard it's dangerous. That's the only thing about Mexico, especially now. It's super dangerous with a bunch of like the cartel stuff going on. I don't know. I have minimal knowledge, and I'm sure someone who's actually living there probably can give you a much better understanding, but that's what I've heard. Wait for me before you go to Thailand. One day. Now I feel like I don't want to go to I do, but now I feel like I don't want to go to Bali because it's like everyone's gone. It's like you got to find somewhere that's new, you know? Mexico having security issues. Yeah. Yeah. That was the difference between why we moved to Texas instead of California. We was wanting to move somewhere nice. And honestly, I prefer it here. Like if you took the money away, like took the price, cost of living away from Texas versus California, of course, Austin, from what I understand, I've never been to LA, but from what I understand, it's like becoming like LA almost, to a decent degree. The only problem is that for me, it's a problem to some degree. It's like LA, yes, you have the beach. Yes, you have like nice weather year round pretty much, but it's also like it does get hot, but not like that hot. And if it does happen, it's not like all the time. Here, you essentially have 6 months out of the year where it's guaranteed, like you don't have to think about a sweatshirt or any of that stuff. And I like it feels like it's summer vacation almost, like from back when you're a kid, like remembering how like things were inside. It feels like that, like for 6 months out of the year, continuous. And then like the other 6, you've got 3 where it's like probably, or it's kind of like that. And then you've got like 3 where it's on and off, which is what I like. Why did Carmen, Cambodia, and Vietnam? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. It would be something to think about in the future, but I'd like to do that. I'd like to do an extended trip, or maybe even just live a year out somewhere like there. Cancun 10 years ago. Baja California looks awesome too. I want to go. We went to Hawaii in August and the waves were not really large. I want to go in the winter time. And that's like the season for surfing. That's when I want to go. I want to learn how to surf. That's one of the biggest things I want to do. That's like the next sport that I want to learn how to do. I snowboard, so I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to learn, but it's not nearly the same from what I understand. But I'd love to do that. All right, guys, with that said, we'll wrap things up for today. If we go back, it was just a choppy week. We didn't really get much direction. Ultimately, like things do look better to the upside, if I had to guess, but we have yet to break out over a new high. If we do that, you would imagine, if you go to the weekly chart, you would imagine we get a big move, you'd think. Who knows though? It's going to ultimately happen. If we break down below 405, then we got nice downside. If we don't break over 405, break below that, we hold that level and push up over 415 again. It's a good chance 418 is going to get tested. If that breaks, then 420s, here we come. So we'll see. We will see. Ecuador, like name on the equator, a lot of communities. Okay. And they use the US dollar. Interesting. Very interesting. I will keep that in mind. With that said, thanks so much for hanging out, guys. And we'll do this again next week. Sunday night, stay tuned for a stream. We'll do a Sunday night stream. And then we'll do some streams next week. Thanks so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Enjoy the weekend. Peace.